That was an accident. But we'll roll with it. Chapter 30. Welcome. Later, we were on a road that led to a river. There was a long line of abandoned trucks and carts on the road leading up to the bridge. No one was in sight. The river was high and the bridge had been blown up in the center. The stone arch was fallen into the river and the brown water was going over it. We went on up the bank looking for a place to cross. Up ahead, I knew there was a railway bridge and I thought we might be able to get across there. The path was wet and muddy. We did not see any troops, only abandoned trucks and stores. Along the riverbank there was nothing and no one but the wet brush and the muddy ground. We went up to the bank and finally we saw the railway bridge. "What a beautiful bridge," Amo said. It was a long, plain iron bridge across what was usually a dry riverbed. "We'd better hurry and get across before they blow it up," I said. "There's nobody to blow it up," Piani said. "They're all gone." "It's probably mine," Bonello said. "You cross first, Tenente." "Listen to the Antichrist," Amo said. "Make him go first." "I'll go," I said. "It won't be mine to blow up with one man." "You see," Piani said, "that is brains. Why haven't you brains, Antichrist?" "If I had brains, I wouldn't be here," Bonello said. "That's pretty good, Tenente," Amo said. "That's pretty good," I said. We were close to the bridge now. The sky had clouded over again, and it was raining a little. The bridge looked long and solid. We climbed up the embankment. "Come one at a time," I said, and started across the bridge. I watched the ties and the rails for any trip wires or signs of explosive, but I saw nothing. Down below the gaps in the ties, the river ran muddy and fast. Ahead, across the wet countryside, I could see Udine in the rain. Across the bridge, I looked back. Just up the river was another bridge. As I watched, a yellow mud-covered motor car crossed it. The sides of the bridge were high, and the body of the car, once on, was out of sight. But I saw the heads of the driver, the man on the seat behind him, and the two men on the rear seat. They all wore German helmets. Then the car was over the bridge and out of sight behind the trees and the abandoned vehicles on the road. I waved to Amo, who was crossing, and to the others to come on. I climbed down and crouched beside the railway embankment. Amo came down with me. "Did you see the car?" I asked. "No, we were watching you." A German staff car crossed on the upper bridge. "A staff car?" "Yes." "Holy Mary." The others came and we all crouched in the mud behind the embankment, looking across the rails at the bridge, the line of trees, the ditch, and the road. "Do you think we're cut off then, Tenente?" "I don't know. All I know is a German staff car went along on that road." "You don't feel funny, Tenente? You haven't got strange feelings in the head?" "Don't be funny, Bonello." "What about a drink?" Piani asked. "If we're cut off, we might as well have a drink." He unhooked his canteen and uncorked it. Look, look, Amos said and pointed toward the road. Along the top of the stone bridge, we could see German helmets moving. They were bent forward and moving smoothly, almost supernaturally along. As they came off the bridge, we saw them. They were bicycle troops. I saw the faces of the first two. They were ruddy and healthy looking. Their helmets came low down over their foreheads and the side of their faces. Their carbines were clipped to the frame of the bicycles. Stick bombs hung handle down from their belts. Their helmets and their gray uniforms were wet and they rode easily, looking ahead and to both sides. There were 2, then 4 in line, then 2, then almost a dozen, then another dozen, then 1 alone. They did not talk, but we could not have heard them because of the noise from the river. They were gone out of sight up the road. Holy Mary, Amos said. They were Germans, Piani said. Those weren't Austrians. Why isn't somebody here to stop them? I asked. Why haven't they blown the bridge up? Why aren't there machine guns along the embankment? You tell us, Tenente, Bonello said. I was very angry. The whole bloody thing is crazy. Down below they blow up a little bridge. Here they leave a bridge on the main road. Where is everybody? Don't they try and stop them at all? You tell us, Tenente, Bonello said. I shut up. It was none of my business. All I had to do was to get to Pardone with 3 ambulances. I had failed at that. All I had to do now was to get to Pordenone. I probably could not even get to Udine. The hell I couldn't. The thing to do was be calm and not get shot or captured. Didn't you have a canteen open? I asked Piani. He handed it to me. I took a long drink. We might as well start, I said. There's no hurry, though. Do you want to eat something? This is no place to stay, Bonello said. All right, we'll start. Should we keep on this side, out of sight? We'd be better off on top. They may come along this bridge too. We don't want them on top of us before we see them. We walked along the railroad track. On both sides of us stretched the wet plain. Ahead, across the plain, was the hill of Udine. The roofs fell away from the castle on the hill. We could see the campanile and the clock tower. There were many mulberry trees in the fields. Ahead I saw a place where the rails were torn up. The ties had been dug out to and thrown down the embankment. Down, down, Amos said. We dropped down beside the embankment. There was another group of bicyclists passing along the road. I looked over the edge and saw them go on. They saw us, but they went on, Amos said. We'll get killed up there, Tenente, Bonello said. They don't want us, I said. They're after somebody else. Something else. We're in more danger if they should come on us suddenly. I'd rather walk here, out of sight, Bonello said. All right, we'll walk along the tracks. Do you think we can get through? Amo asked. Sure, there aren't very many of them yet. We'll go through in the dark. What was that staff car doing? Christ knows, I said. We kept on up the tracks. Bonello, tired of walking in the mud of the embankment, and came up with the rest of us. The railway moved south away from the highway now, and we could not see what passed along the road. A short bridge over a canal was blown up, but we climbed across on what was left of the span. We heard firing ahead of us. We came up on the railway beyond the canal. It went on straight toward the town across the low fields. We could see the line of the other railway ahead of us. To the north was the main road where we had seen the cyclists. To the south there was a small branch road across the fields with thick trees on each side. I thought we had better cut to the south and work around the town that way, and across country toward Campo Formio and the main road to the Tagliamento. We could avoid the main line of the retreat by keeping to the secondary roads beyond Udine. I knew there were plenty of side roads across the plain. I started down the embankment. Come on, I said. We would make for the side road and work to the south of the town. We all started down the embankment. A shot was fired at us from the side road. The bullet went into the mud of the embankment. Go on back, I shouted. I started up the embankment, slipping in the mud. The drivers were ahead of me. I went up the embankment as fast as I could. 2 more shots came from the thick brush, and Amo, as he was crossing the tracks, lurched, tripped, and fell face down. We pulled him down on the other side and turned him over. His head ought to be uphill, I said. Piani moved him around. He lay in the mud on the side of the embankment, his feet pointing downhill, breathing blood irregularly. The 3 of us squatted over him in the rain. He was hit low in the back of the neck, and the bullet had ranged upward and come out under the right eye. He died while I was stopping up the 2 holes. Piani laid his head down, wiped at his face with a piece of the emergency dressing, then let it alone. The blank, he said. They weren't Germans, I said. There can't be any Germans over there. Italians, Piani said, using the word as an epithet. Italiani! Bonello said nothing. He was sitting beside Amo, not looking at him. Piani picked up Amo's cap where it had rolled down the embankment and put it over his face. He took out his canteen. Do you want a drink? Piani handed Bonello the canteen. No, Bonello said. He turned to me. That might have happened to us any time on the railway tracks. No, I said, it was because we started across the field. Bonello shook his head. Amo's dead, he said. Who's dead next, Tenente? Where do we go now? Those were Italians that shot, I said. They weren't Germans. I suppose if they were Germans, they'd have killed all of us, Bonello said. We are in more danger from Italians than Germans, I said. The rear guard are afraid of everything. The Germans know what they're after. You reason it out, Tenente, Bonello said. Where do we go now? Piani asked. We better lie up someplace till it's dark. If we could get south, we'd be all right. They'd have to shoot us all to prove they were right the first time, Bonello said. I'm not going to try them. We'll find a place to lie up as near to Udine as we can get, and then go through when it's dark. Let's go then, Bonello said. We went down the north side of the embankment. I looked back. Amo lay in the mud with the angle of the embankment. He was quite small, and his arms were by his side, his puttee-wrapped legs and muddy boots together, his cap over his face. He looked very dead. It was raining. I had liked him as well as anyone I ever knew. I had his papers in my pocket and would write to his family. Ahead, across the fields, was a farmhouse. There were trees around it, and the farm buildings were built against the house. There was a balcony along the second floor, held up by columns. We better keep a little way apart, I said. I'll go ahead. I started toward the farmhouse. There was a path across the field. Crossing the field, I did not know but that someone would fire on us from the trees near the farmhouse or from the farmhouse itself. I walked toward it, seeing it very clearly. The balcony of the second floor merged into the barn, and there was hay coming out between the columns. The courtyard was of stone blocks, and all the trees were dripping with the rain. There was a big, empty, two-wheeled cart. The shafts tipped high up in the rain. I came to the courtyard, crossed it, and stood under the shelter of the balcony. The door of the house was open, and I went in. Bonello and Piani came in after me. It was dark inside. I went back to the kitchen. There were ashes of a fire on the big open hearth. The pots hung over the ashes, but they were empty. I looked around, but I could not find anything to eat. We ought to lie up in the barn, I said. Do you think you could find anything to eat, Piani, and bring it up there? I'll look, Piani said. I'll look too, Bonello said. All right, I said. I'll go up and look at the barn. I found a stone stairway that went up from the stable underneath. The stable smelt dry and pleasant in the rain. The cattle were all gone, probably driven off when they left. The barn was half full of hay. There were two windows on the roof. One was blocked with boards. The other was a narrow dormer window on the north side. There was a chute so that hay might be pitched down to the cattle. Beams crossed the opening down into the main floor where the hay carts drove in when the hay was hauled in to be pitched up. I heard the rain on the roof and smelled the hay, and when I went down, the clean smell of dried dung hung in the stable. We could pry a board loose and see out of the south window down into the courtyard. The other window looked out on the field toward the north. We could get out of either window onto the roof and down, or go down the hay chute if the stairs were impractical. It was a big barn, and we could hide in the hay if we heard anyone. It seemed like a good place. I was sure we could have gotten through to the south if they had not fired on us. It was impossible that there were Germans there. We were coming from the north and down the road from Cividale. They could not have come through from the south. The Italians were even more dangerous. They were frightened and firing on anything they saw. Last night on the retreat, we had heard that there had been many Germans in Italian uniforms mixing with the retreat in the north. I did not believe it. That was one of those things you always heard in the war. It was one of the things the enemy always did to you. You did not know anyone who went over in German uniform to confuse them. Maybe they did, but it sounded difficult. I did not believe the Germans did it. I did not believe they had to. There was no need to confuse our retreat. The size of the army and the fewness of the roads did that. Nobody gave any orders, let alone Germans. Still, they would shoot us for Germans. They shot ammo. The hay smelled good, and laying in a barn in the hay took away all the years in between. We had lain in hay and talked and shot sparrows with an air rifle when they perched in the triangle cut high up in the wall of the barn. The barn was gone now in 1 year. They had cut the hemlock woods and there were only stumps. Dried treetops, branches, and fireweed where the woods had been. You could not go back. If you did not go forward, what happened? You never got back to Milan. And if you got back to Milan, what happened? I listened to the firing to the north toward Udine. I could hear machine gun firing. There was no shelling. That was something. They must have gotten some troops along the road. I looked down in the half-light of the hay barn and saw Piani standing on the hauling floor. He had a long sausage, a jar of something, and 2 bottles of wine under his arm. "Come up," I said. "There's the ladder." Then I realized that I should help him with the things and went down. I was vague in the head from lying in the hay. I had been nearly asleep. "Where's Bonello?" I asked. "I'll tell you," Piani said. We went up the ladder. Up on the hay, we set the things down. Piani took out his knife with the corkscrew and drew the cork on a wine bottle. "They have sealing wax on it," he said. "It must be good." He smiled. "Where's Bonello?" I asked. Piani looked at me. "He went away, Tenente," he said. "He wanted to be a prisoner." I did not say anything. He was afraid we would get killed. I held the bottle of wine and did not say anything. "You see, we don't believe in the war anyway, Tenente." "Why didn't you go?" I asked. "I did not want to leave you." "Where did he go?" "I don't know, Tenente. He went away." "All right," I said. "Will you cut the sausage?" Piani looked at me in the half-light. "I cut it while we were talking," he said. We sat in the hay and ate the sausage and drank the wine. It must have been wine they had saved for a wedding. It was so old that it was losing its color. "You look out of this window, Luigi," I said. "I'll go look out the other window." We had each been drinking out of one of the bottles, and I took my bottle with me and went over and lay flat on the hay and looked out the narrow window at the wet country. I do not know what I expected to see But I did not see anything except the fields and the bare mulberry trees and the rain falling. Pausing at page 218.